Welcome to Beyond the Bridge with psychic medium and animal communicator Samantha Jones. We are glad you are here and hope you enjoy the next hour where Samantha and her guest will help connect you to the magic of the universe, as well as to your loved ones and pets, both here and beyond the bridge. And now, Samantha Jones.
Hello, friends, and welcome to this week's episode of Beyond the Bridge. I am your host, Samantha Jones. Thank you so much for being here today. Whether this is your first episode or you've heard them all, you are important to me, and I appreciate you being here and, of course, for your time. Last week's topic was awakening your spiritual gifts. I hope that some of you were able to apply the tools and ideas in that episode and maybe have even come a little further in opening those abilities after listening to that episode. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, go back and check it out. It's pretty cool. We talked about all the different types of spiritual gifts. Today, my guest is one of my clients and friend. Her name is Amanda Murray. She is also a listener of my podcast that I have with my husband, Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. So if you're familiar with that podcast, you may already be a little familiar with Amanda because she is also a part of our discussion group, and she's added a lot of wonderful input and questions to the episodes that she's been a part of for the podcast. A little bit about Amanda. She lives in Utah with her 3 kids, 2 miniature schnauzers, and her husband of 27 years. 1 week before marrying her husband, she was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, but fought her way through it and is now a cancer survivor of 26 years. Congratulations on that, by the way, Amanda.
Thank you.
Her hobbies include traveling, gardening, photography, and reading books, especially anything about near-death experiences. Amanda went through a spiritual awakening in 2021 after the universe sent her signs to help her relax during a breast cancer scare. She is going to share more about that story with us. But first, welcome to the show, Amanda. I'm so happy you're here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So let's start a little bit about your background, about how your spiritual awakening happened. Anything that you would like to share with our listeners about that.
So I was just going in for a routine mammogram, and they had spotted something that was not quite right, and that has happened to me before. But this time was a little unusual because then they wanted to send me to ultrasound, and then they wanted to send me for another test. So in the meantime, while I was waiting, I had gone into my therapist, and she had mentioned to me, why don't you go do something to kind of relax your nerves and not think about it? So I decided that I was going to schedule a pedicure for myself. And so I went in there, got my pedicure, and was walking back out to my car. And at the bumper of my car, I saw a penny. And I had always remembered that if you see a penny, to pick it up and kind of look at the year and see if it has any significant meaning to you. So that's what I did. And I picked it up and it said 1996. And that was the year that I married my husband. I was diagnosed with my cancer. And then I also went into remission with my cancer.
Wow.
So I immediately thought, okay, everything's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. And then my thought went to, oh no, what if what I'm about to go through, they're telling me like, you're going to go through something really hard, but you're going to get through this. So then I started panicking again.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided, okay, I'm going to just see if there's any Facebook groups out there that maybe could give me some insight to this. So I joined a couple groups and happened to come across yours. And so I decided I was going to submit my question. And you answered me and basically told me not to worry, that the signs from the universe, the things that they give us, aren't meant to worry us. And so I was like, okay, everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. And it was. Everything was okay. So that's kind of how everything started for me.
That's pretty awesome. That is definitely, if you ask me, the universe drawing you in with that, not just telling you you're going to be okay, but also, oh, by the way, we're going to plant this little seed in your head, that there's more out there and that you should start exploring it. I have a really bad memory. I don't remember my readings. I kind of say that it's like Drew Barrymore in 50 First Dates, how she goes to sleep every night and wakes up with a clean slate. It's kind of like that when it comes to my readings and stuff. But I do vaguely remember this question that you asked and answering it. And another reason I remember it is because I was going through something very similar around the same time, that I had a mammogram as well that came back bad. And it was just so weird to me how it was like, whoa, now, there's somebody here that's kind of gone through the same thing. And I think you were just gone to Hawaii or something like that. And Hawaii came up in the conversation as well.
Yes.
And there was just these things that like drew us together, I feel like, and since then, we've definitely have gotten to know each other a lot more. And I've done readings for you as well as for your dogs. And you know what? I would love it if you would share a little bit with the listeners about the dogs and about how the animal communication and such has been able to help you.
Yeah. So I think the first time I contacted you to do something with my dogs was after we had gone to Hawaii. They just had to come apart. We just gotten new carpet in, and they decided that they were going to vomit and use the restroom all over our new carpet. And so I thought, okay, the next time we go out of town, I need to contact Samantha. I don't know if this is going to work. I've never done anything like this, but you know what? It's not going to hurt to try. So I did. And I gave you a picture of my dog so you can connect with them. And I just thought, okay, well, here we go. And so I went out of town. And no problems. They were as calm as could be. They had no accidents in the house. They did not throw up anywhere. So I was like, okay, so this is going to be a regular thing for me every time I go out of town. So I think since I've been out of town, I've contacted you every time to kind of help with that. So, and I think there was one example, one time where my one was just kind of having a little bit of an extra hard time. And so I had reached out to you while I was out of town, and you just kind of helped him kind of calm down, and he was fine. Yeah. He was okay after that. So that it's been so helpful.
I'm so glad, because you're so much like me that when you go away, it's like, you want to have a good time, but you're worrying about what's going on at home. Are they stressed? And there's a lot of dog and cat and other animal owners like us that feel the same way. People that don't even travel because they don't want to feel that way. So I love being able to do that. I love that your dogs are more relaxed when you go away. And really, one of the big reasons why this happens is because our animals have no clue what's going on. They see the luggage coming out. They can feel the energy that, we're so busy, we're getting ready for a trip or whatever it is. And they don't know how to process this. So where I come in is being able to tell them it's okay. They're just going out of town for a few days. Sometimes I'll even tell them how many days a person's going to be gone. And that really helps as well. But I'm so glad that that's helped for your dogs, and that the universe brought you to the podcast like that as well, because then been able to help you. And that makes me so happy.
It has been, I will tell you, it has been very instrumental in this whole journey of mine. I just, it's crazy when you kind of step back and think about how things led you to where you are today. And you're like, oh, okay, that was not by accident.
I'd like to point out, since this is a sign show, that where you are right now, it is 11:11.
Is it really?
Because it's 10:11 here, and you're an hour ahead of me. Yep.
11:11. Yep.
I just looked down at the clock to see how long we had before the break, and I was like, oh, she's an hour ahead. So There's a little
Yes.
sign from the universe for you saying hello.
Well, and I will tell you, in the days leading up to this, this is very out of my norm. This is not something I'm used to. So I was nervous. I have been nervous, and I have been seeing signs all over the place, my angel numbers. And it's almost like, it's okay. Calm down. It's going to be okay.
Yep.
So
what's funny is I've been seeing your 27 everywhere.
yeah.
Like yesterday, I almost took pictures and sent them to you like 3 or 4 times. And then I was thinking about your 27 and sending that to you. And I looked up and there was an F right in front of me.
Oh my gosh.
Were just walking into a building that had lettered offices there, or there was really restaurants, like a food court. And there was F. And I remembered you saying the day before that you were also seeing Fs. So yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, is that such a thing to see letters in front of numbers? Because that was new,
Yeah.
and I didn't know if that was such a thing. Like, I know numerology is a thing, but I mean, is there numbers letters in front of this? Like, what's going on?
And
so,
you know what? We're going to talk about all of that in the second and third segments. I'm so excited to talk about it. But the quick answer is yes. The universe will do anything that it can to get your attention, however it can do it. There's so many different things that it can use. But we still have a little bit of time before we go to break. So I want to know more about your spiritual awakening, about like, were you religious before you opened up this spiritual side, or anything like that you'd like to share?
I was raised Mormon. My husband and I actually left the church back around 2004, 2005-ish. So I always have had some of that instilled in me, but I would say I always considered myself more spiritual than I have religious. And so I've never really been, as far as the spiritual part of it, I've always been spiritual, but not to this extent to where I'm starting to become more aware of things.
Right.
So,
absolutely. And how does your family feel about this? Do they enjoy the spirituality, or are they kind of weird about it?
I have some family members that are kind of like, oh, here she goes again.
Oh, I know about that. Yeah.
But I will say my husband is very supportive of me. He doesn't necessarily, he believes, but he's open, but he's just kind of like, okay, well, open to hear me talk about it and
That's
to help me work through it. But, it's just kind of a little bit, I have a mix of people that are kind of like, yeah.
So. And it's always going to be like that, really, because you can't make everybody believe that everybody has their own religion, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. We're not, here trying to push anything on anybody. So
exactly. And that's exactly what I have said too. Like, I'm not going to push this on anybody. This is my journey, and this is how I feel.
Yeah, I definitely feel like if the universe thinks that somebody needs to be opened up or, woken up a little bit, that they will bring them to the right people. So the people that are looking for that will come to you, and the people that are not interested will stay away. And that's kind of, how you found the podcast, was that you were searching for something, which is usually how the spiritual awakening starts. It starts with the need for something deeper, and that's where
answers.
Yes, answers. A lot of these signs and stuff that we're going to talk about later, that's where they come in. What's been your favorite part of opening up this spiritual side and learning more about it?
I guess to feel like I'm really not alone. Like I really have the universe. The universe's back. And now there's not to say that there's hard days and bad days in all this, because there definitely is. It's not all sunshine and rainbow while you're going through this, because it's a process. It's you're evolving, you're growing. And so I'm still going through that. I'm still a newbie at this. But I would say that's my favorite part, is being able to feel a little bit more connected to that.
That's beautiful. What about the hardest part?
I would say sometimes knowing who your friends are,
Yeah.
That you kind of outgrow some of that. And it's kind of a sad thing to know that, like, oh, I guess they've served their purpose in my life at this point.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that I can never not talk to them. But sometimes they just kind of want to draw away. And sometimes that has been a little difficult for me.
I totally relate to that and understand. And I have to tell myself too, that this is the universe's way of getting rid of the people that bring me down and bringing in the people that are supposed to be my tribe. And that's hard because you do see people go that you don't really want them to go, but realize that, you know what, it's healthier. It's healthier for probably both of you,
Exactly. And I'm on this part of my journey and they are on theirs, and maybe we can connect back later.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Well, let's go ahead and take our break now. If I'm going to give you my information for those of you that don't have it, you can find me at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. And like I had mentioned before, and Amanda had said as well, that I have another podcast. It's with my husband. It's called Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. It airs every Sunday. You can find that on all major podcast platforms or search us on social media at Spiritual Joneses. So let's go ahead and take that break. We will be right back after a brief break with signs and synchronicities. And of course, our guest, Amanda. We'll be right back.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit facebook.com/Voice America.
Become a member of voiceamerica.com. It's easy, and best of all, it's free. Start out by going to our homepage or any of our channels and click register at the top. Once you've created an account and signed in, you can create your own custom library, opt into our newsletter, search by show, host, guest, or topic of interest, or browse millions of hours of content across all of our Voice America radio channels. Membership gets you more. Visit voiceamerica.com today to get started and tailor the listening experience to your taste.
Have you ever suffered grief from the loss of a loved one or pet? Do you ask yourself questions like, where did they go and what are they doing? Do you have guilt for things left unsaid or feel the need for answers about the loss you never received? Join Samantha Jones, psychic medium and animal communicator, every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Empowerment Channel, where her and her guests will discuss all things beyond the bridge.
Voice America programs are now available on your favorite connected device, including Amazon, Alexa, and Google Home. Through streams with Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, and iHeartRadio, listening to your favorite show is as easy as saying the show name followed by the word podcast.
Hey, Alexa, play Finding Your Frequency podcast.
If that doesn't work, try adding on TuneIn or on iHeartRadio or on Apple Podcasts.
It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
Welcome back to Beyond the Bridge with Samantha Jones. Have a question for Samantha or her guests, or would you like a reading? Join us on the show at 888-346-9141. That's 888-346-9141. Now, back to the show with Samantha.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I am here today with my guest, Amanda Murray, and we are going to be talking about signs that the universe sends us to let us know that it's around. I love this topic so much.
Me too.
Yeah. So we're going to have a good time with this. So I have a lot of different things here that the universe will show you that we'll go over briefly these things and share some stories with you about things that have happened to us in relation to these signs. The very first one that I noticed, it actually was even before my mom died. I was always drawn to 11 all the time. It always caught my eye. But then after my mom died, I started seeing 13s all the time. And that was the day that she passed away. It was 13. And it kind of bothered me at first because it's like, this is the worst day of my life so far, and I really don't want to remember it every time I see the number 13.
You're right.
Right. But that's what she chose. And they do that. And I think that she did that for a lot of reasons. But one of them is because we're not supposed to look down on the death day because it's not as bad as what we make it out to be. That's the short of that.
Right.
What about you? Do you have any? I know 27 is a number for you. Yeah.
Yes. 27 is a number that I see almost daily. There's actually no significant meaning to it other than that was the day that I was born. Well, I guess, yeah, there you go. The other number that I started seeing, actually shortly after my spiritual awakening was 77. And that what happens to be the year that I was born.
Me too.
Yeah. So I see those two numbers all the time, especially if I am going through something. It's like everywhere. I drive somewhere, I happen to look over, there's a truck with 27 on it. I'm emerging onto the freeway. There's a car in front of me that is 27 on the license plate. There's just a lot of that. A lot of those signs.
Yep. Like I said, I first started with 11 and 13. And then as time went on, I noticed that they were trying to send me more signs with different numbers that related to different people in my life. And so now I have 11, 13, 22, 24, 26, and 28. I've recently added the 24 and 28. And so I'm pointing this out because I want not just you, Amanda, but all of our listeners to know you'll continue to get numbers added on. They will continue to do this. And the reason is because you might not have numbers with somebody that's passed away or somebody new comes into your life. So like 28, for example, that's my grandma's birthday. She's 9/28. And then my stepdaughter, that is her number that she uses is 28. And then recently, gosh, what was it? Oh, yeah, I found out, I didn't even remember this, that my stepfather's birthday is the 28. So that's a number now that I can correlate to them. And then also, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I remember you telling me, or not telling me, but listening to a podcast that you had said that. And so that's kind of got me more like, oh, I should probably pay attention a little bit more when I'm out. And that's when I started seeing 77.
Yes, absolutely. When you start to pay attention and ask for it, ask for more numbers or more signs, they will definitely give them to you. One of the weirdest ones, though, is that I said I also recently added on 24. I didn't really think of this as a number. And then we moved into this house, and that's this house's number. It hit me the other day that my house in Las Vegas, that was the last 2 digits of the house there. But my brother, he's my half brother. So we have different fathers. His grandmother passed away, and that was her house number. She recently passed away this year. So ever since she passed away, it's like 24's now become a number. It's there all the time. Yesterday was the 24th, and I was seeing it everywhere. Like you and I had talked a little bit about it, and it was just, yesterday was wild. It was like 24's everywhere. So crazy kind of day. But that is a little bit about numbers. They are, probably one of the top things I think that the universe uses. And in the next segment, after the next break, we're going to talk about synchronicities and how these signs are put together. And so we'll talk a little bit more about the numbers then as well. But the next one that I really noticed at first was music. And music is divine. So this is something that comes from the other side. If you ever hear famous musicians, a lot of them will talk about how they don't know where the song came from, that they wrote it, they woke up from a dream and started writing, or they felt like they were channeling. Music is just one of those things, one of those beautiful things in ways that they're able to get through to us. They can use this in a lot of different ways. They can use this as a way to tell you that something is coming, that they're just around you. For example, a couple of my songs with my mom, when I first started on this spiritual journey, she started playing for my husband and I a lot, Living on a Prayer and Freedom 90. And I don't hear Freedom 90 at all anymore. It's like we got the message as to why they were sending us that song. So it kind of seemed to stop. But Living on a Prayer is one that my husband and I hear always when we're together. It's kind of about our journey and Hotel California as well. But what's funny with Living on a Prayer is that it says you're halfway there. And so we've been halfway there for like 5 years now because we've been hearing the song, so it's funny too. But
yeah. They have a sense of humor at times, right? Don't
they? Yeah, we like to laugh about that one. Do you have any songs that stand out to you at all?
Oh, I do. My husband and I, back in probably I'm trying to think of the date here or the year, but we had adopted or were going through a trial to adopt my great niece. And it was my niece was actually getting her parental rights. They were on trial. And it was a very, very hard time. And I was scared. All I knew is that my husband and I were stepping in to try to help this little girl. And we were met with a lot of hostility. Yeah. We were met with a lot of hostility. Anyway, I was scared. We were getting ready to go to trial with jurors. And I knew I was going to have to testify. And I remember sitting at a stoplight, and all of a sudden the song from Rascal Flatts came on, I Won't Let Go. And I started listening to the lyrics, and I just started sobbing. And it basically says, I will stand by you. I will help you through when you've done all that you can do. And if you can't cope, I will dry your eyes. I will fight your fight. I will hold you tight. And I won't let go.
Oh, I love that.
And I just sobbed, and I just knew that everything was going to be okay.
Yep.
It was going to be hard. It was going to be really hard, but everything was going to be okay. So that is one song that really, every time I hear it, takes me back to, or if I'm going through a hard time, in particular with she's now 13, with my daughter. If I'm going through a hard time and that song comes on, I just know it's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. So, yeah.
And you can set those songs, like I get them constantly, new songs coming in. So like you can set them for certain meanings in your life. So something like that, you could set that for, play this for me when I need it for whatever reason, or like, for example, I have a warning of earthquakes. If we're going to have earthquakes, I'll hear Staying Alive.
Oh my gosh.
So I've set that as an earthquake song because it says in there something about the ground shaking and whatever. So you can set music for whatever you want. I've been doing this now with my mom for almost 20 years. And so we have so many songs set, but just start small. When you hear those songs, like what Amanda was saying, where they just capture you, then put those on a list and keep track of, how often you hear them, maybe what's going on, and you'll start to see a pattern. Or like I said, just set them, just say, okay, this is what I want this to stand for. So once I realized that that's what they sent Staying Alive for, I said, okay, from now on, that's an earthquake song. So I know. So you can do that with it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I actually have a list in my Spotify called Angel Songs.
Love it.
And so those are all the songs that have a meaning to me.
Yes.
But that is the one particular one that really stands out to me.
I love that. That is so prolific for sure too, to tell you it's okay. Relax. Yes. Don't worry. Yep.
We got it. Don't worry.
Yep. Another one that you might get a lot is names, whether it's your name or somebody that's passed away. I hear and see my mother's name every day, and her name's Linda, and that's not a common name, but to me, it's one of the most common names in the world now because my husband says it too. We hear it everywhere we go. You won't even be looking at the TV, and all of a sudden you look at the TV and it'll say something about Linda, and I'm just like, okay, all the time. My grandfather's name was Bob, And a couple of years ago, I got this call. It was a automated something rather. I don't even know what it was about, but it left a message, and you have visual voicemail, but you can also listen to it. So I have it on visual voicemail still and have the message. All it's saying is somebody going, "Hi, I'm Bob. I'm Bob. Hi, I'm Bob." And it just goes on and on and on. And it was just, whoa. Okay.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. It just weird things like that. And then yesterday was a huge day of signs. And my husband and I were in this restaurant, and we were getting ready to leave and turned around, and there was a TV there. You may have even seen, because he posted this, Amanda. It said, Danny Jones will be a free agent in March or something like that. It was about football, right? And so husband's name is Danny Jones, and he didn't really pick up on anything besides the name. But I was like, nope, there's more of a message there, because it's talking about being a free agent in March. And then it hit me right before we came into the show that our daughter, Marina, she's going to be 18 in March. And so yep. Isn't that a trip? So it's like, even though she'll always be our kid, she's an adult now. And so it's kind of like saying, like, you're going to have some more freedom here once she turns 18. So these are the kinds of signs that they'll throw at us. And sometimes we have to analyze them like that. Sometimes they're not so blatantly in our face where we have to like kind of pick them apart,
I have to tell myself to just, sometimes I miss them. Sometimes I miss the signs. And then sometimes they're like really throwing it, at me. Yep. And I'm like, okay, I gotcha. I hear you now. What do you want to tell me?
Yep. One of the ones that you had mentioned is smells. And this one trips me out a lot. What's your experience with the smells?
So right after, it was the day I found out that my sister had passed away. And I was standing in the hallway of my childhood home talking to my mom. And we were just kind of reminiscing about memories of her and talking about her. And I happened to just turn my head just a little bit, and I could smell her. She had a scent, and it wasn't anything funky or anything. It was a very nice smell. And I was like, am I really smelling this? Like, this smells like her. But I was 16 at the time. I didn't really know that could even be possible, Yeah. And I said to my mom, I said, do you smell that? And she's like, no, what? And I said, it smells like Tabitha. It smells like her. And she I said, right here. And so oh my gosh, it does. and so I would have loved to have been able to just kind of see us, because we're both standing there sniffing the air.
I know. I've been there myself. Yeah. Sure.
So that is one that kind of stands out to me that I will always remember.
I smell my grandma a lot. Definitely, if they have a perfume or something that they used to use, they will send that to you. Maybe a food that they cooked for you, anything like that will remind you of them. They will send those to you to, let you know that they're around. Mm-hmm.
I smell, occasionally I will smell my mom's perfume. Not very often. My mom has passed, but I will smell her perfume from time to time, for sure.
Yeah, it's a beautiful connection when you feel that too. It's like you just know that they're there, especially when there's, you're standing in your home. There's no way that you could smell their perfume because nobody sprayed it. You're not like in a department store or something. It's just, there's no other explanation for that.
Or you don't own it.
Right,
You don't own the perfume.
Yeah.
And so you're like, so I have been told when you do, now that I know more, that when you do smell those things and you should recognize it and say hello and thank you.
I'm so glad that you point that out, because yes, that will help you so that they send you more signs. They will send you more and more if you do that, you recognizing them, for sure. We have a lot of other signs left, but just a few minutes before break. So I'm going to go over some of these real quick, and we'll talk about them more in depth in the next part, in our synchronicity part. But some of the other things you might experience are animals. They love birds, dragonflies, hummingbirds, bees, squirrels, anything that you can imagine. They love to send you those things. You might see, like, sometimes hummingbirds will just come and flutter right in front of my face. one day there was a dragonfly just going back and forth in our backyard. They're just there to tell you, you're probably thinking about something, calming you down, letting you know they're there. There's a lot of reasons why they send that, but animals for sure. And then nature, they'll send messages in the clouds. I love the messages in the clouds.
Oh yeah.
You get those. Oh, amazing. And then flowers, anything that relates to, that reminds you of somebody over there. Let's see what else. Also, illnesses. Sometimes getting sick, there's a reason for that. It's so that you'll slow down, or, they're really like forcing you to slow down or stopping you to do something. Like, for example, I stopped drinking soda many years ago. And now when I drink it, I've discovered that I get really sick the next day. I have a horrible migraine. And I feel like that's the universe's way of saying, you don't need to drink that.
You don't need that. Yeah.
So, that's the universe saying to you for sure that, you don't need that in your life. So,
yes. Yeah.
And let's see what else I have. Motivational posts. If you are like scrolling through Facebook or something like that, and you all of a sudden see something that answers the question exactly what you've been thinking, or it's a motivational post that goes along, those are signs. Those are ways that they'll communicate with you. Dreams. A lot of people have prolific dreams. Yep.
Yeah. And then I have lots of those.
Yeah, me too. They will also just show you the answer to your questions in random places, maybe like TV, or like for me, TikTok is amazing. I see signs constantly on TikTok for what exactly I need in my life at that moment. So never discount that those things are like coincidence, because my motto is there's no such thing as coincidence.
Right.
Yep.
Well, and I was always and learning from your podcast too, if there's a thought that pops into your mind, take a second and really sit with it and figure out if it's something that is they're trying to tell you or trying to convey to you, like roadblocks. Yes, for example.
Yes,
yes, I get many of those, and sometimes I'm like, oh gosh, but it's really faster if I go this way. Yep. Why, and I'm like, nope, I've got to listen to this. There's probably a reason. And so I'm just going to go with it. And, you don't always know if something's going to happen. Yeah. And why, yes. And so, the other thing too, I remember hearing from your podcast was, if there's a slow car in front of you, instead of trying to rush around it, just sit back. Yes. There's a reason why that car is in front of you.
Yes. That was one thing we didn't get to talk about in this segment, is cars, license plates and stuff. I want to talk about that briefly when we come back before we talk about synchronicities. But let's go ahead and take our break real quick. We will be right back, everyone. Stay tuned.
Follow us on Twitter at VoiceAmericaTRN. Get the lowdown on guests, new shows, and your favorites. That's VoiceAmericaTRN.
Where can you listen to some of the world's top life coaches ready to dish out success tips and entrepreneurial guidance? The Voice America Empowerment Channel will do just that. Whether it's personal growth, building a better business, or inspirational life stories, make it a daily habit to tune into our programs. From weight loss and personal branding to law of attraction and increased happiness, you'll find it every day at VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com. The Voice America Empowerment Channel. It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed.
Life can be confusing at times. There can be uncertainty, disappointment, and an inability to clearly see where you're headed. But it doesn't have to be this way at all if you understand how to take the next step in your life. Tune in to Living the Miracle with your hosts, Michael and Raphael Tamura. We'll help you to find the deeper meaning that awaits you in your life, have certainty in yourself, and learn to be clairvoyant. Listen Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 2 p.m. Eastern on Voice America Empowerment.
Connect with us, and we'll connect with you. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is on LinkedIn. Get the first word about happenings with the network, where our next live event will be, and what's up with our hosts. Look up Voice America on LinkedIn.
It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
Welcome back to Beyond the Bridge with Samantha Jones. Have a question for Samantha or her guests, or would you like a reading? Join us on the show at 888-346-9141. That's 888-346-9141. Now, back to the show with Samantha.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you again so much for being here. And thank you to my guest, Amanda Murray, of course, for being here. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So I had mentioned before we get into synchronicities, I want to talk real quick about the cars and license plates, because that is another one that is major in my life, especially. And I know a lot of other people that see these as well. Actually, the other day, you and I were talking about 77, and I had just seen, I think it was a bus or a truck or something that had an ad on the back. And I think it was for a lawyer or something like that. But the number was like 800-777, or it was 877, and it was all sevens. The whole number was 7. Yep. But
yeah, and then I noticed the bus number, or the truck number, was also 77.
It was. And so when I saw that, it tripped me out. So I took a picture of it. And so then when you brought it up, I sent it to you. I'm like, look, I see it too. It's just 77 is my birth year too. So it's like, I call them like kicker numbers, like when they show you a bunch of your numbers and then, oh, here's also 77. It's like an extra.
Yeah.
But I see those constantly on cars. I see there's a truck that is a gardening truck in our neighborhood that I also saw in my old neighborhood that's got its green thumb gardeners, and my grandparents own a chain of nurseries called Green Thumb. So every time I see that truck, I see it all the time now in our neighborhood. And so I always think of them when I see it. It's like their little way of saying hello.
It's just exactly.
Yep. And then on license plates, I'll talk about that a little bit more in synchronicities because I have some great examples. But on license plates, you'll see all kinds of things, your numbers, maybe names, initials, whatever. But we'll talk about that more with the synchronicities. So first, what are synchronicities, just in case you're not familiar? From a spiritual perspective, synchronicity is a form of divine guidance. It's a way that our spirit guides, our family on the other side, or even our higher self will send us messages, ways of letting us know different things and to help us on our path. Spiritual guides assist us in navigating our lives every single day. They are here to help. You can receive guidance about literally anything and everything through synchronicity. And I am not joking when I say this.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you a couple of examples of synchronicities that have happened recent. And really with the synchronicities, it's more than one sign. So if you're seeing like 2, 3, 4, 5 signs in the same, period of time, that's synchronicities. So like, for example, yesterday, my husband and I saw so many. I've already told you about the Danny Jones on the TV, but we went to the San Fernando Valley so that I could do a bird groom, because I do bird grooming on the side. And the client's house that I went to, the name of her street was Kitty Ridge. And that's my grandmother's name, is Kitty. And all of the numbers of her house and her zip code were my numbers. They included 22, 26, and 13. And
wow.
Yep. And the bird, I don't know if you remember this story, Amanda, but this bird I met a few years back, and this lady knew absolutely nothing about this bird and was not taking well care of him. And now he is being taken great care of. And she recently gave him a name after her mother actually had him for over 20 years. And the name that she gave the bird was Kitty. So,
oh my gosh.
Yep.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? Yep. And then
talk about a sign that you needed to be there.
And I really helped this bird to get to the point that it's at in its life. It might still be in a cage all the time if I wouldn't have been proactive and told this lady, you need to make some changes in this bird's life. I even said, give me the bird. She told me it was a cockatiel and it ended up being a mini macaw. I'm like, there's no bigger difference. Like, seriously.
It doesn't matter.
No.
It's fine.
But yeah, it was like, give me the bird, but anyway, so she's taking better care of the bird. And then literally everything that my husband and I saw yesterday was like names of people that in his family. And like, I saw a license plate that stuck out to me. I saw the same car twice, and the license plate was 8 LCK 2826. So you have my numbers 26 and 28, because I will take them reverse and scrambled because it's,
I do that too.
Yeah, because it's the universe. They can't just be like, here's, 26, 28. But the LCK, so my mom's name is Linda, my grandma's name is Kitty, and the other woman that hangs out a lot in my home is Marina's grandmother, Carla. So you had all three of their initials on this license plate. So that's,
my gosh.
Yep, crazy, right?
Wow. It is. It is.
Yep. You tell us one of your synchronicity stories. I know you got to have some good ones too.
Gosh, yeah. One of my synchronicities, let me think here. When I was thinking about a family member of mine that I hadn't spoken to for a little bit. And I was just scrolling through Facebook on the reels. And I am not kidding you. There was a lookalike of her just pop right up there.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And it took me aback for a minute. And I was like, wait, this isn't her.
Wow.
And so I was like, okay. And literally that night I thought, I need a recommendation for a massage therapist. And so I'm part of a Facebook group that you can kind of ask for recommendations in your area, and they'll give them to you. The very first person that commented had the exact same name as the person that I had been thinking about earlier.
Oh, wow.
I was like, okay, well, if that's not a sign.
Yep. I totally understand those. I love those. Those are the trip, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
For sure. Yes.
Yeah. I really could.
You kind of, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, you just kind of sit with it for a second going, like, did I just see this? Is this really happening?
Yes. And a lot of times it's hard for us to believe when it's actually happening. And so we don't believe until retrospect. That's like one of my new lines is I'll believe it in retrospect, because it's true. It's like, I really do believe that these are, signs and that they're telling us all of these things and stuff. But until whatever it is that they're trying to tell you, if there's something happening or something coming or whatever, until I have more sense of it, I don't always know. And so that's why I love that. I'll believe it in retrospect.
Right. Yeah, I like that too.
I could literally write a book of all of the synchronicities that I have seen over the years. But I want to throw out a couple of more just so you guys understand a little bit more about how these synchronicities work. Probably I'm going to say 3 or 4 years ago, I had a vision that we were going to adopt a dog, an older dog, another Great Dane. And I could see that she was mostly black. And all I knew was that this dog was going to come into our lives after we moved into our new home, the one that we're in now, that anytime after we moved into the home, I could start looking for her, and that when, she was available, I would find her. I didn't know exactly when this time was going to be, but I was allowing the universe to just show me and tell me. And it started when it was time for me to start looking for her. I started seeing black Great Danes everywhere. We have one in our neighborhood that I started seeing all the time that I have not seen since Betty came home to live with us.
Wow.
Yep. And I was seeing Great Danes on Facebook, on everywhere you can imagine. I was seeing this. It was just their way of saying it's time. And I went online and I could tell when I found her. I knew they had, it felt like the last few letters were going to be like that TY. I just didn't know what the beginning was, but it was Betty. And there she was. Yep. After all those years, there she was.
That is so crazy. I kind of had a similar story with an animal of mine as well. And just started seeing a lot of schnauzers popping up in my feed. And I was like, no, not yet. I'm not ready yet. And it was shortly after I had my dog for Jake for 18 years, and he had passed away. And he just kept, it was like I was seeing all these schnauzers, and then finally I thought, okay, I guess it's time.
Yeah.
I look at these dogs and I'm like, oh my gosh, schnauzers just have my heart. So
I totally understand. We all have our breeds that we love, don't we? They just stick with us for sure. Absolutely. So my husband and I, and the other podcast, Spiritual Philosophy Chatter, we have done the many episodes on angel numbers, on synchronicity. So if you're interested in learning more about the signs and synchronicities, I would go back and listen to some of those episodes. Episode 22 is about signs. Episode 8 is a very early episode, so I haven't even listened to those early episodes at all. They should be interesting. But that's another one about synchronicities. Episode 111, I believe, is angel numbers. 154 is communicating with the universe. But anything you need, you can find there and learn more about these things, because there's so much depth here when it comes to this that I could make a whole book of this stuff.
Oh,
really,
yes.
How this works.
Yes.
But one of the things that I get asked the most is why? Why do they do this? What are the reasons? And there's so many reasons, and I don't even think that I could tell you all of the reasons why they do this, but I'm going to give you some of them. So some of them are that they're preparing you for something to come, life changes, maybe a new job or a new home or whatever, and they're trying to tell you this is coming. My husband and I are planning to move, and the universe is filling us full of signs to tell us not just when this is going to happen, but where we're supposed to go. And these are all being brought to us in synchronicities, more so than my own intuition, really. They will tell you to contact someone, or that someone's thinking about you. If you sometimes I'll see my brother's name, Justin, I'll see it a lot, and I'll hear songs that are related to him, and I know I need to reach out to him. Sometimes they're just saying hello. They just want to let you know that they're around, so that you feel comforted that they're around. And then they might be answering your questions. I actually bought a car this way. I didn't want to buy a car. I was not really interested, but I said to the universe, okay, if I hear mom songs, it's no, don't buy a car. And if I hear dad songs, then it means keep looking. And I heard no mom songs and all dad songs, tons of them. So they can answer all of your questions this way. You can set, like I said, certain signs. You just set it however you want it to be. But these synchronicities really can guide you. And another thing is, what happens if you ignore these synchronicities? Well, I would say that ignoring these synchronicities is probably going to make it so that you don't move as easily in your life. You might find that you have more stress about what's coming forward because you're not paying attention to these and getting these signs. The universe is all about growth and transformation, and they're constantly trying to guide us in that direction to grow. And so that's a part of why they send these synchronicities as well. So I wouldn't ignore them. Like Amanda said, when you start to see them, I would actually acknowledge them. I see that. Thank you.
Yes.
If you know the spirit, maybe that's sending it to you. Like when I know it's my mom, I say, hi, mom, things like that. So
I do too. And sometimes I'll start having a conversation with them. Did you see that?
Exactly. So we just have a couple of minutes left. Is there anything that you wanted to throw in on this subject? Anything that's, you've been thinking?
Well, honestly, I feel like for my spiritual journey, I apply what feels true to me and I discard the rest.
Yes.
And I will have good days and bad days, but I need to keep learning, keep growing, and trust in the universe that it always has my back. And I think one of my very, very favorite quotes is, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And that is a quote that really resonates with me. But I do want to also, real quick, if I can, I just want to thank you for all the mentorship and guidance that you have given to me. Excuse me. Just to help me better understand this new journey that I'm going through. You guys have truly helped me in navigating what I'm feeling, to take notice of these signs that the universe gives to me. And it just helps me to make sense that what I'm feeling, I'm not going crazy. So I just want you and Danny to know that you've been incredibly instrumental with that, and just to keep up the good work and know that what you are doing is making a difference in this world.
You are too sweet. Thank you so much. I actually have tears in my eyes, because that's exactly what we want to do. We want to bring this awareness and help to wake people up a little bit to what's going on. And so thank you so much for that. And thank you for being here and being on the show and agreeing to do this. I really appreciate that.
Oh, it's been an honor. I've really enjoyed it.
Awesome.
So thank you for
so
having
glad.
me.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time that we have for this week. Next week, my guest is going to be Mystic Molly. If you'd like to learn more about her, visit mysticmolly1111.com. And until then, you can find me, Samantha Jones, psychicmedium.com. And everybody have a wonderful week. Peace and love, everyone.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Beyond the Bridge. We hope you will join Samantha and next week's guest for more eye-opening ways to connect to the universe. Until next week, peace and love.